This game theory problem will change the way you see the world. Okay. This will be fun because
This is a video about the most
I
famous
have been
problem
known
in
to be a
game
gamer,
theory.
so
Problems of this sort pop up everywhere, from nations locked in conflict to roommates doing the dishes. Even game shows have been based around this concept. Figuring out the best strategy can mean the difference between life and death, war and peace, flourishing and the destruction of the planet. And in the mechanics of this game, we may find the very source of one of the most unexpected phenomena in nature: cooperation.
The curious origins of the
On the
prisoners
3rd of
dilemma.
September
Okay, this is interesting.
1949, an American weather monitoring plane collected air samples over Japan. In those samples, they found traces of radioactive material. The Navy quickly collected and tested rainwater samples from their ships and bases all over the world. They also detected small amounts of cerium-141 and yttrium-91. But these isotopes have half-lives of 1 or 2 months, so they must have been produced and the only place they
I'm
could have
probably
come
gonna
from
get fucking
was
bodied,
a
dude.
nuclear explosion. But the US hadn't performed any tests that year, so the only possible conclusion was that the Soviet Union had figured out how to make a nuclear bomb. This was the news the Americans had been dreading. Their military supremacy, achieved through the Manhattan Project, was quickly fading.
This makes the problem of Western Europe and the United States far more serious than it was before, and perhaps makes the imminence of war greater.
Some thought their best course of action was to launch an unprovoked nuclear strike against the Soviets while they were still ahead. In the words of Navy Secretary Matthews, to become aggressors for
That was our chance to take over the world, man.
peace. John von Neumann, the founder of game theory, said, "If you say, why not bomb them tomorrow, I say, why not bomb them today? If you say today at 5 o'clock, I say, why not at 1 o'clock?"
Something needed to be done about nuclear weapons, and fast. But what?
In 1950, the RAND Corporation, a US-based think tank, was studying this question. And as part of this research, they turned to game theory. That same year, 2 mathematicians at RAND had invented a new game, one which, unbeknownst to them at the time, closely resembled the US-Soviet conflict.
This game is now known as the prisoner's dilemma. So let's play a game.
A banker with a chest full of gold coins invites you and another player to play against each other. You each get 2 choices. You can cooperate, or you can defect. If you both cooperate, you each get 3 coins. If one of you cooperates but the other defects,
Defect is actually, I think, the best strategy. I think just mathematically.
then the one who defected gets 5 coins and the other gets nothing.
Am I wrong? I feel like it is.
And if you both defect, then you each get a coin. The goal of the game is simple: to get as many coins as you can.
So, what would you do?
Suppose your opponent cooperates, then you could also cooperate and get 3 coins. Or you could defect and get 5 coins instead. So you are better off defecting. But what if your opponent defects instead? Well, you could cooperate and get no coins, or you could defect and at least get 1 coin. So no matter what your opponent does, your best option is
Yeah, exactly.
always
That's
to
what I meant.
defect.
It's always defect.
Now, if your opponent is also rational, they will reach the same conclusion and therefore also defect.
As a result, when you both act rationally, you both end up in the suboptimal situation, getting 1
Yep.
coin each, when you could have gotten 3 instead. In the case of the US and Soviet Union, this led both countries to develop huge nuclear arsenals of tens of thousands of nuclear weapons each, more than enough to destroy each other many times over.
But since both countries had nukes, neither could use them. And both countries spent around $10 trillion developing these weapons. Both would have been better off if they had cooperated and agreed not to develop this technology further. But since they both acted in their own best interest,
You can't, though. You can't do that because, like, you can't trust them.
they ended up in a situation where everyone was worse off.
It's an existential thing. You have to do it.
The Prisoner's Dilemma is one of the most famous games in game theory. Thousands and thousands of papers have been published on versions of this game. In part, that's because it pops up everywhere.
Impalas, living in between African woodlands and savannas, are prone to catching ticks, which can lead to infectious diseases, paralysis, even death.
Fucking
So
ticks.
it's important for
Ticks
impalas
are the
to
worst.
remove ticks, and they do this by grooming. But they can't reach all the spots on their bodies, and therefore they need another impala to groom them. Now, grooming someone else comes at a cost. It costs saliva, electrolytes, time, and attention, all vital resources under the hot African sun, where a predator could strike at any moment.
Impalas are Discord mods. SMH,
So for the other impala, it would be best not to pay this cost. But then again, it too will need help grooming. So all impalas face a choice. Should they groom each other or not? In other words, should they cooperate or defect?
Well, if they only interact once, then the rational solution is always to defect.
Yep.
That other impala is never going to help you, so why bother? But the thing about a lot of problems is that they're not a single prisoner's dilemma.
Impalas see each other
that's
day
true.
after day, and the same situation keeps happening over and over again. So that changes the problem. Because instead of playing the prisoner's dilemma just once, you're now playing it many, many times. And if I defect now, then my opponent will know that I defected, and they can use that against me in the future.
Well, yeah, and then they can find someone else to cooperate with. It's not like a 1v1 issue. Yeah.
So, what is the best strategy in this repeated game? That is what Robert Axelrod, a political scientist, wanted to find out. So in 1980, he decided to hold a computer tournament.
He invited some of the world's leading game theorists from many different subjects to submit computer programs that would play each other.
Axelrod called these programs strategies. Each strategy would face off against every other strategy and against a copy of itself. And each matchup would go for 200 rounds. That's important, and we'll come back to it. Now, Axelrod used points instead of coins, but the payoffs were the same. The goal of the tournament was to win as many points as possible. And in the end, the whole tournament was repeated 5 times over to ensure the success was robust and not just a fluke. Axelrod gave an example of a simple strategy. It would start each game by cooperating and only defect after its opponent had defected twice in a row. In total, Axelrod received 14 strategies, and he added a 15th called random, which just randomly cooperates or defects 50% of the time. All strategies were loaded onto a single computer where they faced off against each other. One of the strategies was called Freedman. It starts off by cooperating, but if its opponent defects just once, it will keep defecting for the remainder of the game. Another strategy was called Joss. It also starts by cooperating, but then it just copies what the other player did on the last move. Then around 10% of the time, Joss gets sneaky and defects. There was also a rather elaborate strategy called Grass Camp. This strategy works the same as Joss, but instead of defecting probabilistically, Grass Camp defects in the 50th round to try and probe the strategy of its opponent and see if it can take advantage of any weaknesses. The most elaborate strategy was Name Withheld, with 77 lines of code. After all the games were played, the results were tallied up and the leaderboard established.
The crazy thing was that the simplest program ended up winning, a program that came to be called Tit for Tat.
Tit for Tat starts by cooperating, and then it copies exactly what its opponent did in the last move. So it would follow cooperation with cooperation and defection with defection. But only once. If its opponent goes back to cooperating, so does Tit for Tat. When Tit for Tat played against Freedman, both started by cooperating, and they kept cooperating, both ending up with perfect scores for complete cooperation. When Tit for Tat played against Joss, they too started by cooperating, but then on the 6th move, Joss defected. This sparked a series of back and forth defections, a sort of echo effect.
Okay, so now you've got this alternating thing, which will remind you of some of the politics of the world today, where we have to do something to you because of what you did to us. And then when this weird program throws in a second unprovoked defection, now it's really bad, because now both programs are going to defect on each other for the rest of the game.
Mhm.
And that's also like some of the things that we're seeing
Yeah.
in politics today and in international relations.
As a result of these mutual retaliations, both Tit for Tat and Joss did poorly.
But because Tit for Tat managed to cooperate with enough other strategies, it still won the tournament.
We're being joined.
Hey, my God, there's Professor Axelrod. Whoa, what a treat this is.
And I imagine initially it'd be sort of like computer chess where you need a pretty complicated program to play a sophisticated game. But in fact, it was not like that at all. It was the simplest strategy.
I mean, this is basically kind of, I mean, I feel like a lot of people can relate to the strategy of like tit for tat. Because I think a lot of people aren't just straight up like gonna let people take advantage of them. But I think a lot of people are good, like, well, there is a large percentage of people that are kind of more cooperatively natured. But if they get fucked over, then they'll fuck you over back. And then like maybe like if you stop being a dickhead, like we'll forgive you. But I think it's pretty common.
That did the best. So I analyzed how that happened.
Axelrod found that all the best performing strategies, including Tit for Tat, shared 4 qualities.
First, they were all nice, which just means they are not the first to defect. So Tit for Tat is a nice strategy. It can defect, but only in retaliation.
Yeah.
The opposite of nice is nasty. That's a strategy that defects first. So Joss is nasty. Out of the 15 strategies in the tournament, 8 were nice and 7 nasty. The top 8 strategies were all nice.
Oh,
and
interesting.
even the worst performing nice strategy still far outscored the best performing nasty one. The second important quality was being forgiving. A forgiving strategy is one that can retaliate, but it doesn't hold a grudge. So Tit for Tat is a forgiving strategy. It retaliates when its opponent defects, but it doesn't let defections from before the last round influence its current decisions. Friedman, on the other hand, is maximally unforgiving.
After the first defection, just
Guys, I think I'm Friedman. that's me.
from the opponent
That's me right there.
would defect for the rest of the game. Okay, that's it. No mercy. And that might feel good to do, but it doesn't end up working out well in the long run.
SMH.
This conclusion, that it pays to be nice and forgiving, came as a shock to the experts. Many had tried to be tricky and create subtle, nasty strategies to beat.
Well, it's more like for me, like the system for me is, I actually am forgiving, but it's like there's a hard limit to it, right? So like if you defect me twice, then just fucking over basically. So I'm like forgiving once, and then after that I'm hard defect, like forever basically.
Their opponent and eke out an advantage. But they all failed. Instead, in this tournament, nice guys finished first. Now, Tit for Tat is quite forgiving, but it's possible to be even more forgiving. Axelrod's sample strategy only defects after its opponent defected twice in a row. It was Tit for 2 tats. Now, that might sound overly generous, but when Axelrod ran the numbers, he found that if anyone had submitted the sample strategy, they would have won the tournament.
That's actually me. That one's me actually. But then it's more like two defects. It's more like 2 defects into perma defect. That's like that would be like my strategy. Is like I'll forgive one time, and then after that perma defect.
And it's so
Thank
clever.
you, Nada,
There's so
Prinny.
many
Thank you for the
layers to
prime.
this story.
Thank you, and thank you, Graham and Ghost as well. Thank you so much.
After Axelrod published his analysis of what happened, or circulated it among these game theorists, he
Well,
said,
the thing
"Now
is
that
I can't trust anyone anymore. Like, if somebody like makes like a fucking mistake, I feel like everybody I feel like people just make mistakes. So like I think like one time is fine, but like I'll never forgive if you do it again. Basically,
we all know what worked well.
it's basically cooked for you forever.
Let's try again."
So
I just become like not interested anymore in friendship at that point.
a second tournament where everything would be the same except for one change: the number of rounds per game.
See, in the first tournament, each game lasted precisely 200 rounds. And that is important, because if you know when the last round is, then there's no reason to cooperate in that round, so you're better off defecting. Of course, your opponent should reason the same, and so they should also defect in the last round. But if you both anticipate defection in the last round, then there's no reason for you to cooperate in the second to last round, or the round before that, or before that, and so on all the way to the very first round.
And so in Axelrod's tournament, it was a very important thing that the players didn't know exactly how long they were going to be playing. They knew on average it would be 200 rounds, but there was a random number generator that prevented them from knowing with certainty.
Yeah, if you're not sure when it ends,
Thanks for the
then
hearts,
you
you
have
guys.
to kind
Thank
of
you.
keep cooperating because it might keep going,
Thank
and
you.
you might need
That's
them on your
right.
side. Yeah.
For this second tournament, Axelrod received 62 entries and again added random. The contestants had gotten the results and analysis from the first tournament and could use this information to their advantage. This created two camps.
Bro, I don't know about you guys, but this one makes me fucking sweat.
Tournament
Every time
and
it
could
pops
use
up on
this
screen,
information to
I'm like,
their
oh,
advantage. This created two camps. Some thought that clearly being nice and forgiving were winning qualities, so they submitted nice and forgiving strategies. One even submitted tit for two tats. The second camp anticipated that others would be nice and extra forgiving. Therefore, they submitted nasty strategies to try to take advantage of those that were extra forgiving. One such strategy was called Tester. It would defect on the first move to see how its opponent reacted. If it retaliated, Tester would apologize and play tit for tat for the remainder of the game. If it didn't retaliate, Tester would defect every other move after that. But again, being nasty didn't pay.
And
Oh,
once
tit for
again,
tat's the
tit for
one.
tat was the most effective.
Nice strategies again did much better. In the top 15, only one was not nice. Similarly, in the bottom 15, only one was not nasty.
After the second tournament,
So what did the-
Axelrod identified the other qualities that distinguished the better performing strategies.
The third is being retaliatory, which means if your opponent defects, strike back immediately.
Yup.
Don't be a pushover. Always cooperate is a total pushover, and so it's very
so I
easy
gotta,
to take
I gotta retaliate right away, huh, chat?
advantage of. Tit for tat, on the other hand, is very
I
hard
can't give people two. I gotta be like, bitch.
to take
All
advantage
right,
of.
okay, got it.
The last quality that Axelrod identified is being clear.
Programs that were too opaque, that were too similar to a random program, you couldn't figure them out because they were so complicated. It was very hard to establish any pattern of trust with a program like that because you couldn't figure out what it was doing. Not you, I mean, the other programs it was playing couldn't figure them out. And so they would end up more or less defaulting to thinking every turn is like the last time I'm going to see you, so I might as well defect. What to me is mind-blowing about this is that these four principles, being nice, forgiving, provocable, and clear.
You know what? You want to know, like, my general strategy, though, chat, like, in life, basically, is I try to create things, basically. Like, I try to, I'm like a crafter. I try to craft things, right? And I'll craft things, and I'll give those who are good to me, I'll give them access to crafting. It's actually kind of funny because it's how I played Mabinogi. Like, basically, it's how I played MMOs. I'll give those who are nice to me access to crafting, and when they fuck me over, then you're just cut off, basically. Like, I'm not, like, you lose the resource, basically, that you once had. Yeah. It's not really, like, I don't generally get back at people in, like, I try to go for them or something like that, or try to, like, fuck them over. But it's kind of like I just don't let them have access anymore.
Is a lot like the morality that has evolved around the world that is often
And,
summarized
like, I feel like in the end, like, it's just going to be worse for them, basically.
as an eye for an eye. It's not Christianity, by the way. It's not turn the other cheek philosophy. It's some older philosophy.
What's interesting is that while Tit for Two Tats would have won the first tournament, it only came
Although when I was younger, I was a lot more. When I was younger, I was a lot more hardcore about, like, when people fucked with me. Like, I kind of mellowed out when I got older, but when I was younger, like, this one, I'm not gonna tell the whole story because I've told it before. But this one, like, gamer girl, this, like, famous gamer girl, she fucked around with me. I went, like, full scorched earth on her. I was like, actually, it was fucking medieval, dude. Yeah, it was a famous fighting game player's ex-girlfriend. And she was like a famous gamer girl. Like she was on TV and shit like that. And she fucked around and I made her find out, basically. I went like absolute fucking maximum scorched earth. And it was like, it was medieval. And then, but I stopped once I made her break down and cry, like really hard. That's when I stopped, basically. I quit after that point, but I went all the way to that point. Was it glorious? Basically she said that I fucking suck. She said that I suck at games, even though like I was her friend. She was talking shit about me online. So I went to like every fucking tournament that she went to. And I cooked her every single time.
Came 24th in the second tournament.
This highlights an important fact. In the repeated prisoner's dilemma, there is no single best strategy. The strategy that performs best always depends on the other strategies it's interacting with.
For example, if you put tit for tat in an environment with only the ultimate bullies of always defect, then tit for tat comes in last.
I wanted to see whether, for example, the tit for tat did well because it did well with really stupid rules that didn't do well at all themselves. That basically it took advantage of people.
So he ran.
Doomswake on Kick says people misunderstand Christianity. Turn the cheek isn't. Yeah. I know. That is true. Yeah.
And a simulation where successful
It doesn't mean like let yourself get bullied. Yeah.
strategies in one generation would see their numbers grow, and unsuccessful ones would see their numbers drop. In this simulation, the worst performing strategies quickly shrink and go extinct, while the top performing strategies become more common. Harrington, the only nasty strategy in the top 15, first grew quickly, but then as the strategies it was preying on went extinct, Harrington's numbers also quickly dropped.
This shows a main benefit of this simulation because it tests how well a strategy does with other successful strategies.
After 1,000 generations, the proportions are mostly stable, and only nice strategies survive. Again, tit for tat comes out on top, representing 14.5% of the total population.
Now, this process may sound similar to evolution, but there is a subtle difference, which is that in this case there are no mutations, so it's actually an ecological simulation.
But what if the world you started in was different?
Imagine a world that is a really nasty place to live, more or less populated with players that always defect.
So like Chicago?
Except there's a little cluster of tit-for-tat players that live in some kind of nucleus. And they get to play with each other a lot because they're geographically sequestered. They will start building up a lot of points, and also, because that translates into offspring, they'll start to take over the population. So, in fact, Axelrod showed that a little island of cooperation can emerge and spread, and eventually will take over the world, which is fantastic.
See, but what happens when they don't enforce it, when they get betrayed by the other people, and then they never enforce it? In fact, they take care of the other people more. I wonder what that simulation looks like.
How can cooperation emerge in a population of players who are self-interested, who are not trying to be good because they're good-hearted? You don't have to be altruistic. You could be looking out for number one, for yourself and your own interests, and yet cooperation can still emerge.
Mm-hmm.
Some argue that this could explain how we went from a world full of completely selfish organisms, where every organism only cared about themselves, to one where cooperation emerged and flourished. From impalas grooming each other to fish cleaning sharks. Many life forms experience conflicts similar to the prisoner's dilemma, but because they don't interact just once...
There's also like the interesting theory that it's about how much of the DNA you're passing on as well. That there's like a cooperative aspect that like if you pool resources, that more of the DNA will survive.
Both can be better off by cooperating.
Even if it's not the whole 100% of it, a higher percentage of like a piece of that will survive.
And this doesn't require trust or conscious thought either, because the strategy could be encoded in DNA. As long as it performs better than the other strategies, it can take over a population.
This proves communism works through machines bound to humans due to human nature. Well, the problem is like this simulation doesn't really account for scarcity. They're not like, for instance, when they give a green cooperative signal, the green cooperative signal didn't cost anything. It's like it's literally a lever. Like it doesn't actually have like a personal cost to like use it.
Population.
Axelrod's insights were applied to areas like evolutionary biology and international conflicts. But there was one aspect that his original tournaments didn't cover. What happens if there is a little bit of random error in the game? Some noise in the system. For example, one player tries to cooperate, but it comes across as a defection. Little errors like this happen in the real world all the time.
Like in 1983, the Soviet satellite-based early warning system detected...
This is the reason, by the way, I have the 2 forgive. Because of this. Because it like, I feel like people get misunderstood a lot. I feel like I get misunderstood. I feel like other people get misunderstood a lot. And it's for that reason I kind of have a little bit more... What's the word? It's why I give people a little bit more grace, basically, when it comes to stuff.
Launch of an intercontinental ballistic missile from the US. But the US hadn't launched anything. The Soviet system had confused sunlight reflecting off high-altitude clouds with a ballistic missile. Thankfully, Stanislav Petrov, the Soviet officer on duty, dismissed the alarm.
But this example shows the potential costs of a signal error and the importance of studying the effects of noise on those strategies.
The word game sounds like it's a children's game, or, you know, there's something a misnomer maybe in calling it game theory, because these are life and death matters, obviously. And as you mentioned that this came up in the Cold War, I mean, it could actually be life and death of the whole planet. We could annihilate human civilization. So these are not games in any kind of trivial sense. It's just the term that is used by mathematicians and theorists.
When tit for tat plays
that was a retard disclaimer, by the way.
against itself in a noisy environment, both
so sometimes I give the retard disclaimer. That's what that was.
Start off by cooperating. But if a single cooperation is perceived as a defection, then the other tit for tat retaliates, and it sets off a chain of alternating retaliations. And if another cooperation is perceived as a defection, then the rest of the game is constant mutual defection. Therefore, in the long run, both would only get a third of the points they would get in a perfect environment. Tit for tat goes from performing very well to performing poorly.
So how do you solve this? Well, you need a reliable way to break out of these echo effects. And one way to do this is by playing tit for tat, but with around 10% more forgiveness.
So instead of retaliating after every defection, you only retaliate around 9 out of every 10 times. This helps you break out of those echoes while still being retaliatory enough to not be taken advantage of.
And so we also ran the tournament with noise and generosity. And that did quite well. My favorite example is tit for tat does really well, but it could never do better than the player it's playing with.
Yep.
I mean, think about it.
I too love
By
tits.
design, all they can do is lose or draw.
And yet, when the results of all interactions are tallied up, they come out ahead of all other strategies. Similarly, always defect can never lose a game. It can only draw or win. But overall, it performs extremely poorly. This highlights a common misconception, because for many people when they think about winning, they think they need to beat the other person. In games like chess or poker, this is true, since one person's gain is necessarily another person's loss, so these games are zero-sum.
But most of life is not zero-sum. To
Yeah,
win,
true.
you don't need to get your reward from the other player. Instead, you can get it from the banker. Only in real life, the banker is the world. It is literally everything around you. It is just up to us to find those win-win situations and then work together to unlock those rewards. Cooperation pays, even among rivals.
From 1950 to 1986, the US and Soviet Union had trouble cooperating, and both kept developing nukes. But then, from the late 80s onwards, they started reducing their nuclear stockpiles.
They too had learned how to resolve conflict. Rather than making an agreement to abolish all nuclear arms at once and essentially turning it into a single prisoner's dilemma, they would disarm slowly, a small number of nukes each year. And then they'd check each other to see that they had both cooperated. And then repeat the year after, and the year after that. All along checking to ensure mutual cooperation. In the
And
more than
everyone
40
else in
years
the world
since
won.
Axelrod's tournaments, researchers have continued to study which strategies perform best in a variety of environments. In doing so, they varied everything from payoff structures to strategies to errors and more. Some even allowed the strategies to mutate. While tit for tat or generous tit for tat doesn't always come out on top, Axelrod's main takeaways still hold. Be nice, forgiving, but don't be a pushover.
Yep.
Can I ask you, why did Anatole Rappaport submit tit for tat?
Well, the reason was because I asked him to. And he wrote saying, yeah, I'm willing to do that, but I just want to be clear that I'm not sure that this is really such a good idea. He was a peace researcher, and I think his own inclinations were to be much more forgiving and maybe and not be so provocable.
What I find fascinating is that one of the main things that
If you just act like a bitch all the time, you're gonna get completely stomped and taken advantage of. And that's because of human nature again.
sets life apart from non-living things is that life gets to make decisions. We get to make choices that don't only change our future, but also the future
That was a good game. Did you guys see that?
of those we interact with.
See, in the short term, it is often the environment that shapes the player, that determines who does well. But in the long run,
I'll put it on after
it is
this.
the players that shape the environment. So let's play a game, the game of life, and make your choices wisely, because their impact may reach further than you think.
That was a good video. That was pretty cool. Yeah, I liked it. Looks like I'm using the winning strategy, guys. Is that why I'm winning, guys? Is that why I keep winning? Here, this is the thing I wanted to show you guys. God, what was it called? This one right here. This was so sick. Oh God, one channel audio. Why?
Welcome back to Golden Balls. After a run of big cash balls.
Okay, maybe there's another one. Okay, guys, we're gonna have to watch the one with the shitty audio. There is no... Sorry.
Ibrahim and Nick now have £13,600 in front of them. We know they've got it, but the golden question is, can they keep it? Ibrahim and Nick, you now face a very straightforward choice, but it's a choice that could make one or both of you extra wealthy. But it could also lose
Oh, can
both
I?
of you
Can I use
everything that you have fought.
Can I use the audio thing to split it? I don't think I can. Sorry, chat.
For today. They have to decide to split or steal. Ibrahim, Nick, you have two final golden balls in front of you, and they are the most important golden balls of the game.
This is the way he said it.
Ibrahim, Nick, you have two final golden balls in front of you, and they are the most important golden balls of the game. You each have a golden ball with the word split written inside.
The Prisoner's Dilemma
You
game.
both have a ball with the word steal written inside. You will know which is split and which is steel because you're going to have a look. If you both pick the split ball, you split the 13,600 and you go home with 6,800 each. If one of you chooses the steel ball and the other chooses the split ball, whoever chooses the steel ball goes home with the whole lot, 13,600. But if you both choose the steel ball, you leave today's game with what you came with.
This game's crazy.
It's the ultimate test of faith, trust, and let's face it, greed.
By the way, because of this guy, they had to change the rules. they had to change the rules because of him.
Take a
The
moment
guy with the brown
to
shirt.
look at the balls in front of you so you know for definite which is split and which is steel, but obviously keep them concealed from each other. Just have a look. Okay. It's the easiest...
Look at the death stare on him, though.
Okay.
Holy shit, dude.
It's the easiest choice, but the most difficult one. What I want you to do is to spend half a minute talking to each other about what you both should do. Nick, Abraham.
Ibrahim, I want you to trust me. 100% I'm going to pick the steel ball.
Sorry,
I'm going to choose the steel ball.
You're going to take the
I want
steel?
you to do split, and I promise you that I will split the money with you.
But after you've took the steel?
Yeah.
You're going to take steel?
Yeah.
I'm going to take split?
Yeah.
So you take the money?
And I will split it with you.
After the show?
Yeah.
See, they had to ban this strategy.
Ibrahim, I promise you I'll do that. If you do steel, we both walk away with nothing. I'm telling you 100% I'm going to do it.
I appreciate that. Right, I'll give you another alternative. Why don't we just both pick split?
I'm not going to pick split. I'm going to steal. Ibrahim, honestly, 100% I'm going to steal.
It's in your nature to steal.
No, I'm honest, and I'm going to tell you...
You're an honest
I am. That's why I'm telling you I'm going to steal. If you do split, then I will split the money.
I can't see myself doing that.
Okay, well, I'm going to steal, so we're going to leave with nothing.
Where's your brains coming from?
It's a pro gamer move, yeah.
I know that I'm a decent guy, and I will split the money with you.
Well, we should just both split then.
No, I'm going to do steal.
There is no legal
requirement
for him to give you the money.
Of course. If I gave you my word, now let me tell you what my word means.
Okay.
My father once said to me, a man who doesn't keep his word is not a man. He's not worth nothing.
Okay.
He's not worth a dollar.
I agree.
So,
Ibrahim, I'm going to steal. So you've got the choice. You either steal, and we both walk away with nothing, because you know I've told you my intention, and I've told you that I will split the money with you, Ibrahim.
if I gave you my word that I was going to split, I would split. And you're going to take steel, so...
The only way you can guarantee to walk away with 6,800
is
to guarantee that you both put the split ball in. And I do now have to push you for a decision. It's a tough one.
We've lost it. We've lost everything.
Okay, we've lost then.
We're walking away with no money because you're an idiot.
No, that's not
You're an
true.
idiot. You're an idiot. That's what you are. You're an idiot. You're an idiot. That's what you are.
This can go on all night, and these people have got to get up for breakfast. Nick, choose split or steal. Ibrahim, choose split or steal. Now, please. Choose a ball.
Right, I'll tell you what, I'm going to go with you.
Okay.
I'm going to go with
I promise you I will split it.
You cannot change your balls now. Split or steal? Yes! Congratulations, you're both split and each received...
Legendary play, man. That's a pretty good play, though, right? Yeah, big fucking gamer move, yeah.
Well, It's charity all the way. And a market trader you can really trust.
That was pretty cool though, right?